This is the formal part of today, our AGM or annual general meeting. So the agenda we've got is the minutes of the last meeting, the matters arising, the reports from the trustees, then the elections for future trustees, and then a bit of consultation which we'll tackle very briefly about how we are governed going forward. So first of all, the minutes for the 2016 annual general meeting have been on the website for some time. There were copies out in the foyer this morning as well. Is there any objections to signing those off as a record of 2016 annual general meeting, please? No? Okay, so we'll take those as signed off as agreed. Thank you. Any matters arising from those minutes? Excellent. Right, okay. So, reports and accounts. So this is our annual reports as the trustee board for the years 2016/17 and 17/18. Now the reason for that, the reason why we're doing 2 years annual reports is a little bit complicated, but this is basically to do with the fact that we are now a registered charity with the Charity Commission. Previously, we were a charity, we were registered Gift Aid with HMRC, however we were not registered with the Charity Commission. We decided that that was a good thing to be registered with the Commission for various reasons, and so we asked you, the members, back in 2015 to mandate us to go and register as a complete full-blown charity, which we duly did. In the process of that, we had to essentially close down the old organisation and create a new one. And that's what's happened in the past 2 years. It kind of took a bit longer, and essentially that meant that we didn't have a conference. We had a meeting in Ireland, which we'll hear about. We didn't have a conference and we didn't have an AGM in 2017. That's basically because there's a kind of transition between the old and the new organisations. Okay? So this is the first AGM of the new organisation. Okay? But we are reporting on what we've been doing for the past 2 years. Okay? I said it was a bit complicated, but just go along with it. Okay, so this is the meeting of the new charity, and we are going to take you through in terms of our roles. So we've got the trustees speaking, but the trustees double up in terms of their responsibilities. So as well as being a trustee, they wear another hat on a more day-to-day basis. So I, for example, I'm James Buller, and I basically run the communications and the membership parts of the organisation. We've got Emily, who is our treasurer, and runs all the finances and funding. We've got Katie, who is our chair, but is also runs services and information. And then finally we've got Martin, who is head of volunteering and development. And so we're going to hear from each of those in turn. And then once we've heard from them, then we'll actually go on to the voting part of the AGM. We'll have an opportunity for questions at the end, and if anyone wants to speak to us about any of this stuff, please do come and see us. Again, all these slides are on the website and will be published eventually as a separate annual report presentation as well. We've not done a written report, which basically we're relying on the slides to be the report itself. Okay, so I'm going to hand over now to Katie to talk about services and information.
Thanks, James. So, yeah, I'm going to be talking about services and information. So, to begin with, I hope you're all aware that we have a befriending service, and you can either contact us to get, if you would like to take part in the befriending service, and we also offer it to people who've newly joined. So in 2016-17 we had 13 people contact us, and that led to 6 actual befriending pairs made, and also 3 people who went on to receive information related to education. The remaining people either didn't respond or decided to do something different. And then similarly in 2017-18 we've had 19 requests, and that led to 5 befriendings and 8 other education requests. So we also get quite a lot of inquiries related to education, and I should say that our befriending and education service is run by Lynn Buller, who's with us today. So in 2016-17, we produced also basically a leaflet called Aniridia 0 to 16 months VI guidance for practitioners, and that is based on the guidance from the Department of Education. We also have pupil passports targeted to different age groups between right from birth to 18 years old, and they're available on request. And again, if you're interested in those today, speak to Lynn. She has some with her and she can explain more about how to use them. And yeah, in 2016-17 we had 3 requests for passports and other education related questions. And then in 2017-18 we also produced a new parent information sheet. So again, that is available by contacting Lynn. And we also published a blog post about toys for visually impaired children and how to help them develop their vision in early years with toys. And we had a total of 7 requests for education-related questions. And we also get other types of inquiries. So 2016-17 we had 12, and then 17-18 we had 11, so about the same both years. And they were mainly requests related to either medical type questions about Aniridia, some of which we passed on to our medical advisor, Melanie Hingarani, and also some questions related to claiming welfare benefits such as PIP and ESA. Some of you maybe have claimed yourself. And we do have a disability rights advisor, Vida, who can help you with claims for those, but also other advice related to getting help for being disabled or having a visual impairment. So we are also part of Aniridia Europe, which is an umbrella organisation for Aniridia groups like ours across Europe. And as part of that, James and I attended the 3rd European Aniridia conference, which took place in Germany in 2016. The 4th one is coming up this year in Paris in 2018 in August. If anyone would like to go to that, come speak to me at the information desk and I can tell you more about it. They are primarily a medical conference, so they're bringing together medical professionals from across Europe and the world. We also represented Aniridia Europe at the European Paediatric Ophthalmology conference, which took place in Oxford in 2017. So James and I again attended, sort of representing ANUK and Aniridia Europe, and we were working together with the Albinism Europe organisation. So as we heard earlier, our patron is Veronica van Heinigen, and she is a geneticist who worked for many years at the Human Genetics Unit in Edinburgh. So she also attended the Aniridia Europe conference in 2016, and at the conference she put forward this idea of doing this genotype-phenotype study or database that Maria mentioned in her talk. So we would be interested to hear your feedback as to whether you want us as an organisation, ANUK, to work to help put together that database, and whether you would be interested in participating. And then we also took part in Rare Diseases Day. You may have seen us talking about it on social media, and we also had one of our members who, in their shop, they sold a special milkshake, which was themed for Rare Diseases Day, and they gave £1 donation from each of those milkshakes sold to us, which was a great fundraising idea. And then we also held a number of events over the past 2 years. So we had the conference in 2016, and we had 2 meetups in London, one in 2016 and one in 2017, which took place after the Site Village event, which is held in London each year. And we also had the first meeting in Ireland in 2017. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about the conference in 2016. We had 70 adults and 16 children attending, got quite a lot of positive feedback, and I think everybody had a good day. It was a slightly different format from the one we have today, because in the morning we had activities, we played VI cricket and did some tandem cycling in the local park before coming back to the conference venue and having talks such as these in the afternoon. We had covered a wide variety of topics, not just medical, but also many people talking about their lives with Aniridia, things like starting university and getting involved in politics and all sorts of things like that. So, as I mentioned, in April 2017, we had our first meeting in Ireland. We had about 30 people attending, and that was organised by Eleanor Burke, who again is with us today, and she is going to be continuing to work on organising more events and raising more awareness of Aniridia within Ireland, both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. And now I'm going to hand over to Emily.
Okay, hello. So yes, I'm Emily, and I've been the treasurer now for the last 12 months with AN UK. I'm just going to give just some headline news, really, just today, just of how our finances have gone over the last 2 years. But if anybody wants any more details or certainly wants copies of the accounts or anything, just come and find me afterwards on the information desk. So again, I will just talk about 2016-17 and then 2017-18. So going back to the first year. So I'm just going to talk about our CAF Bank account. So we've got an account with them. And so our opening balance at the start of that year was approximately £12,000. And by the end of that year, so March 2017, that had gone up to £22,000, which is obviously a good increase. And that's when I began to take over. So in part of that year, we had the conference costs and income from tickets that Katie's just been talking about on that conference. The large proportion of that £10,000 increase actually came from us closing our co-op account, so £6,000. So historically there was money sitting in there. So we've actually just started a consolidation process of putting all our assets and money together. So approximately 6,000 went in. And then also we actually had donations of £1,134. And really this was a focus then for the following year that the trustees just committed to increasing that, and Martin will talk in a little bit more detail about the fundraising that has occurred within the last year. So that's where we started then, April 2017. We were sitting at £22,000, and it's nice again to say by the end of that financial year, so March this year, this had then increased to £31,000. So again, we saw a significant increase. This year, however, we'd spent approximately £600 supporting the activities in Ireland that Katie's spoken about, and I know Martin will expand on a little bit. And quite impressively, our income now from fundraising and from donations have now gone up to £9,870. And that was due to a couple of quite significant events, but also donations through pay as you give, direct debits, so quite a wide range of ways for that income to come in, as well as people doing fundraising events through Just Giving and having pages on there. And then lastly, we've just in preparation for here, just as part of last year's accounts, we'd had some sales of tickets and some costs for the conference. But I will come on in a minute just to this year now and going forwards. So just in terms of the types of activities just that I've just been doing, one of the main functions I've just been doing is actually just trying to centralise our funds. So I just talked about the closing of our co-op account. And we've also just looked at actually, we've opened a new account with Lloyds, which will just give us a bit more functionality. Hopefully it will just give us a debit card in order to pay for things and slightly better access. And also we'll just reduce the fees that we're currently just paying CAF Bank as well. So we're just in the process of doing that. And then we've also, a lot of you would have paid for your conference tickets through PayPal, and we've just been transferring those funds into the account as well. So there's just been a bit of work around there. I've also just been involved in the preparations for Aniridia UK, so the transfer there, so we need to just let the banks know, HMRC know, so there's a little bit of coordination in the background just to make sure that we've got the right details with people, and the next step now that we'll be doing in the next month or so is with Just Giving, PayPal and Amazon, hopefully as well, to let them know our details. So I've been learning, I'm not actually an accountant by background, so I've been learning QuickBooks, which is the program we can use in order to just manage our accounting. It allows us to allocate our income and our funds and just structure our accounts. So as I said, if anybody wants copies of those reports, come and see me. And if anybody understands QuickBooks and is a good user, come and find me as well, because I've got quite a few questions. But it's all good. It's all good learning. I've also just been involved then in spending some of our money. So putting things like insurance in place for today, but also throughout the year, and trustee indemnity. And then lastly, actually looking at funding some research. So spending some of this nice balance that I've talked about that is in our bank account. So we have been working with Fight for Sight to set up a research project through their small grants application process, which means that we put in £7,500 and they matched that with £7,500 in order to fund up to a 12-month study into, it could either be specific to Aniridia or could just be a generic study into sight loss. However, for this year we have requested that the research be around Aniridia, and we're just in the process now of the grant application closed towards the end of March. There are 5 applications, and the step is now that they are being reviewed, and we have input to that next week, and then Fight for Sight and their panel will make a decision by the middle of May. So hopefully towards the end of May we'll be able to confirm actually the study that we will be able to fund. So I'm not able to give too much detail today just about in terms of the applications, but as I said, there were 5, 3 related to genetic topics, and we've already obviously heard one of those just in the talk before. One is relating to a sleep study, looking at sleep patterns with Aniridia, and one is looking at refractive error and producing glasses and contact lenses in order to assist that. So lastly, looking forward now then to the other thing I've been involved in is just putting our budget together just for the next financial year, so talking about 2018 and 19. So where we are, we're just looking at, obviously to put on this conference today, I'm just going to just go through a few numbers now. Unfortunately, I couldn't do a talk without numbers. So it's approximately £4,600 for the cost of putting on today. So, the catering, the building, the coach to take us to the evening event tonight. We've also invested in some conference equipment to help us with the social media, and that's £750. We've just talked about the research, so Fight for Sight will be £7,500 that we'll be contributing to that. We've got running costs of our organisation, so that might be things like our insurance, our email, any QuickBooks that we're kind of using, all those day-to-day things that we have running, and that's approximately £2,500. And we've also got a nice reserve fund as well of £3,000, which just means that we know that we've got that money there for a couple of years to keep running. So in total, we've actually got £18,000 worth of things that we have found already to be spending that money on. But in terms of income, we've obviously got the income from today. So our ticket sales of £2,700. And we already know that some people have already signed up and are giving us direct debits, and that totals approximately £1,880, which is great because we're now sitting here at the beginning of the year knowing that that income is coming in. However, altogether we only know at this point of an income of £4,500. So now really it's kind of over. A lot of our income last year came from that fundraising, came from the donations, and it'd be great if this year we can match that and we can have that funding. But at the moment, it's not guaranteed. We can't sit there. It's people taking up challenges, asking for those donations. And I know Martin will talk about that now in more detail. So I'll hand over to him. Oh, sorry, I'm handing over to James. Sorry, in order to do his bit. So that's me.
Thank you. Okay, my section is communications and membership. On screen now is a table showing how the numbers of different categories of members, as in different types of Aniridia and Wagga. So I'm not going to go through this, but essentially we have over 800 members now, which is absolutely fantastic. Next one. The rate of membership, as I mentioned kind of last time, is kind of the rate of increase is slowing. Essentially, we've gained just roughly the same number of people in the past 2 years as we did in the previous one. So I think this is essentially indicating that most people who kind of want to be a member now roughly are. But essentially, people who join now in general are new families with newborns with Aniridia. It would be fantastic if someone out there would like to help us manage the membership using our Salesforce database, for example. That's kind of a role that would really help. We are working, you may have heard of something called the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, which is why, for example, you've all been asked for your consent for us to communicate with you today. Please do hand those forms in so we can do that. This is a new regulation that's coming in and we are aware of it and working to make sure that Aniridia Network is compliant with it. So a few events other events that we've been to things to do with Genetic Alliance UK and the Genetic Disorders Leadership Symposium. It's quite a mouthful. And we also went to the NCVO Trustee Conference, which was really useful for us to kind of learn more about being trustees and what's kind of roles and responsibilities and important issues for us there. So Aniridia Day was a new thing in the past recent history. 2017 was the first time Aniridia Day ran. Myself and Katie in particular led on that for the whole world. We ran a poetry competition, an international one, and a local one as well. And it was amazing that we had 10 submissions to the UK competition versus 8 for the whole entire rest of the world. So we gave out some vouchers, some Amazon vouchers to the winners in the UK, and we also took part in the judging of the international competition. Eleanor and some others, Marion and Una, also distributed some leaflets in Dublin and Belfast, which was fantastic. As some of you also may have seen, we did a Facebook Live. And we also created a word cloud. We asked you and everyone around the world to say the words they associated with Aniridia, and they came up with this lovely graphic to show all the different kind of words that you associate with it. Light, black, eyes, wear, and so on. And that's now actually been used as the logo for the Aniridic family group on Facebook, which is really nice. Also, there was another part of the Aniridia Day, which was the Shining Success campaign, which many of you contributed to, which was a massive signing success in itself. And it was great that, again, a UK person won won some sunglasses prizes for getting 161 likes or loves for their post on Facebook. That's your goal for this year. Can anyone be cuter? Website, basically the same as ever, continues to do well. Slightly fewer visitors than previous years for some reason. We'll try and improve that. In email broadcasts, we sent several in 2017, didn't send so many in 16. This is largely because it takes time to do. But thankfully now we have a communications officer in the form of Glenn, who's also helping to do the recordings of today, and so he's been upping the amount of detail stuff that we send you in terms of news and reminders to come and book a conference, for example. But just to kind of give you an idea of what's involved in that, when we sent out the booking email for conference inviting you to come today, we sent 414 emails out. That's roughly half the people we counted as members. Of those, only 145 were even opened, and only 30 of those were actually resulted in someone clicking through to our website. So that's just kind of give you an idea of our sort of communications challenge in terms of getting information out to people. This is just a pie chart showing just for kind of information really. This basically proves that people with visual impairments generally use Apple devices. The vast majority of people are using mobile Apple devices, and so we try and bear that in mind when we're designing emails. Social media continues as before. We monitor any mentions of Aniridia and kind of we share them out to you, the membership. As mentioned, last time we streamed detailed the event in 2016, and we're doing it again today. Yeah, Glenn's doing a great job as communications officer in that space. A few other graphs here and things. Again, you can look at these at some point in the future. This basically just shows, in line with all the data stuff around Facebook and Twitter at the moment, this kind of shows you the kind of information we can get. That 72% of people who follow us on Facebook are women. And they're mainly kind of in sort of middle age groups. And also this graph shows that most of you are online on Facebook on Sunday evenings. So that's when we try and put tweets out and Facebook messages to you. And you seem to like links more than photos, which is interesting, which is kind of the reverse of social media. I wonder why. YouTube, we publish videos of conference and other stuff on YouTube, and there's 69 subscribers to that. Please add to that list. We've also recently put up some older talk about auditory processing disorder from 2011, for example. So that talk is available for you to go and listen to as well. Okay, I'll hand over to Martin to talk about volunteering and development.
Right, hi. So we met our target that we set previously of 5,000, so that was a great thing there. And we had some bigger donations, I think, through certain events and stuff like that. So we had £5,000 donated from, what was it, Matt, I think it was, Matt. And then we've had some regular smaller things come in. Things like Give As You Live and some of those other kind of when you're doing online shopping and those sort of things, which I know Emily gave some figures for earlier. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the more people that can do bigger, sponsored events and things like that would be great to bring in, further income and stuff like that, because it's always needed. Okay, so on volunteering, firstly, I want to just thank all the volunteers that have given their time over the past couple of years. So we have Liz Atkinson, Lynn Buller, Eleanor Burke, Mary Cox, Keith Spinks, Glenn Turner, I can't remember if I've left anyone else. Dave McKay, sorry, yes, the conference officer. And David Woodward for doing, some video work, I think that was. Yeah. So yeah, thanks to all of those people for pitching and helping where needed. And in terms of other volunteering work, it's always grateful for anyone else who can help out in lots of different ways. We've got various roles or things on the website that people can help with, which require either a lot more time or not very much time or whatever. But it'd be good if we could find, at this point in time, say like a membership officer, like James mentioned earlier. We're also in need of someone who could help with coordinating volunteers and things like that. So yeah, that would be good. We also have a trustee position open on the board. So we're keen to find someone that either can represent young people or that might have kind of, say, trustee secretary experience, like a board, that kind of thing. It's not a necessity, but that is kind of something we would be keen to find, people with either of those, if possible. So we had Ireland 2017, which was organised by Eleanor. Since then, she's also been involved in a lot of other interviews, podcasts, or I don't know, many things, to raise awareness and help to develop the Irish group over there. So the trustees for the past couple of years, Ben Rendell, who was our treasurer, he stepped down in September 2016. Emily, that has now taken on the treasurership, was co-opted in March of 2017. Then we have James, Katie, and myself. So yeah, I think that is that me done. I think no.
Yeah, I think that covers everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think is it
Time for
Q&A
questions.
now? Yeah.
Okay, yes. So I'm conscious we are running massively over time, but does anyone have any questions for us?
Are
Yo.
you going to do the nomination for trustee?
Yes, just about to. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, again, please feel free to come and talk to us at the break if you have any questions. Okay, so time now to elect the trustees for the coming period. This is, in contrast to previous years, trustees will now be on a 3-year rolling tenure, which basically means you get elected for 3 years, but then a third of us have to retire each year. Okay, so basically someone who gets elected today will have to retire and stand for re-election if they want next year. But one of us potentially will be in post for 3 years, so that makes all sense. Okay, so we have had 5 nominations. There are 5 trustee positions available on the board, and we have had nominations from the existing trustees, myself, James Fuller, Emily Nash, Katie Atkinson and Martin Fleming, and we've also had just shortly, a minute ago, a nomination from Eleanor Burke from Ireland as well. Do we have any other nominations? No. Okay. What we usually do to kind of keep this short and sweet is, with your permission, we vote en masse rather than per person. Is that what we want to do? Yeah. Okay. So can I have someone to second the motion that I propose that we vote en masse, so you vote once for all 5 people rather than per person? Someone would like to second that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. Great stuff. Okay. So in that case, can I ask you to vote to approve or against the 5 aforementioned people to be the trustees of Aniridia Network Charity for the coming years? Those votes in favour, please. Okay, looks fairly unanimous, I think. Okay, votes against? I don't see any votes against. Abstentions? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Well done, everybody.
Okay, I won't dwell on this too much. This is so at the moment, the charity we created is a membership charity. It was the closest model to how we were already operating. And this means that we have to have this AGM roughly every year, maximum 15 months between. And we have to kind of keep track of who the members are, which, as you can imagine, is a bit of a kind of administrative kind of burden. And it also brings up questions of, well, who is a member? As in, is everyone in a household a member? Is it only the people who have Aniridia who are members, or their parent representatives? Or is someone just a supporter? Is someone because they fundraise for us? Does that mean they're a member? As you can imagine, it gets a bit kind of complicated to where you draw the line. Now, one thing we could do, which would kind of simplify things, is move to a more foundation model, which is whereby the trustee board would co-opt trustees onto itself. So the trustee board, instead of doing the election like we just did, the board would kind of basically do that itself, and we wouldn't have to have necessarily so much of a formal AGM every year. We would probably still write an annual report, but not necessarily do it in this form, which means we could fit in another speaker at a conference, which which might be more interesting to you. Obviously, on the flip side of that, you may feel that's not as democratic, and maybe you sort of allies to something in terms of what you feel this is like as a membership organisation. I don't propose to sort of go into any more detail about that now, again, we're short of time, but if you've got any thoughts on that, please go and have a chat to us and tell us what you think of that idea about moving to this foundation model instead, which would be somewhat less administration for us. That's it. Any other business? No, excellent. Thank you very much. We will now move on. Thank you.